definition of the tribes in India, and how there are that commonness or common property, the concept common, uh, uh, it has been attached with when we are defining the tribal communities, that the homogeneity we were discussing. Okay, and there is a history in India where we are trying to analyze how the concept of common or the concept of common property, it has been originated in the case of the tribal communities. Okay, so in our last class we are also discussing that the territory, that is also is an important parameters on which we try to define the tribal communities. Okay, and that is the major identity or the major parameters on the basis of which we try to bring the identity of those tribal communities. Okay, and here another point is that the concept of common, like we have already discussed that after uh, britishers, they established colonies in India. From that point, for their convenience and for their objectives and their goals, they started studying the peoples of India. Okay, and there we have already discussed that how the categorization of people, it has been done on the basis of the physical appearance, means the racial categorization or the racial classification, it has been done. Okay, so uh, that is one purpose, and second purpose is that for analyzing or studying the Indian people, that is uh, how the resources that has been maintained, or through the ages, how those natural resources they have been maintained or they have been used, managed. Okay, so that was the purpose of the British ruler, or you can say the administrator, to know that fact. Okay, so and when the resources of their use, like the British administrator, we have already discussed that for a purpose they had studied the Indian resources, both the natural resources and the human resources. Okay, and for the trade purpose, they want to map out the different resources of India. Okay, and you can imagine that those resources they were lying with, or they are more close to the tribal communities. Okay, so from a point they have started applying many kind of policies and program on the basis of which those resources or those community, they are being excluded from the mainstream community. For the example, we have seen we have noticed that after different kind of movement or insurgency, they have tried to uh, implement policies like isolation. Okay, or they have tried to implement the policies like the restricted area, or you can say that the sanctuaries. Okay, where no one can be allowed except except few of the administrator. Okay, so from that point, access to the those natural resources by the tribal communities and by the non-tribal community, that was getting declined. Okay, so the and it remains like that. Tribals have to use their common resources, although the livelihood practices or the cultural practices of the tribal community, that is, they will use that they will use that common resources for their culture, livelihood, etc. But the British policies, it has also uh, bring them down. How they were confined to that area only, or they were confined to use those resources in a common manner. It means you will not find the, that is, the private ownership among the tribal communities of the different resources. As we have seen that In non-tribal communities, you can identify that the livelihood resources are owned by the individual members. For example, we are studying the caste. Okay, so traditional occupation of each caste, the resources that were being owned by those caste members or the person. Okay, for example, we are saying the potterers, or we are saying the blacksmith. Okay, how, the numbers of tools, or the numbers of area they were using for their cottage industry, or they are using for their art, that is owned by those owned by those caste communities. Okay, and they must have certain kind of private ownership. Okay, but in the case of tribal community, we'll see those territory that is commonly owned, the resources that is also commonly owned. For example, we have said that these community, they majorly depend on the forest and forest based economy for their livelihood. Okay, so the forest is commonly owned, that is not owned by privately by any of the tribal community members. Okay, for if a tribal communities that is practicing the hunting and gathering type of occupation, then all of the members of that community, they will depend on the that particular jungle. If that if other community tribal community member who are practicing the livelihood mm, sources or livelihood practices, like for example, you can collecting any kind of small timber uh, forest product. Okay, so that non timber forest product. Okay, so they will also depend on the forest, and all of the community member of those type of livelihood resource practitioner, they will own that jungle. Okay, so none of the tribal community of any type of livelihood sources, they don't own that jungle, or they don't own that common area from where they are collecting or they are getting their livelihood resources. Okay, so that idea was still there, but the British policies, mm, it has added to that kind of practices. Okay, so from that point you can see that they have developed that commonness. Okay, and after independence, uh, still that idea that has got continuity, or that is continued after independence also, because the idea of isolation and the idea of that is keeping those tribal community in a separate place, and uh, like we have also tried to bring different methods or different kind of approaches for development. One of them is keeping those tribal community away from the non-tribal people, and uh, let them allow to practice their traditional livelihood practices. Okay, we are the state, it is not imposing any other kind of alternative livelihood sources which were traditionally practiced uh, by the tribal communities. Okay, so from that band you can identify, or you can see that the common property resources, that idea, it has started and it is added by the British administrators, and then it is also continued in the post independent era. Okay, so that is the idea of the common property resources. Okay, and going to the unit 18, that is caste and tribal communities. Okay, so another point in your unit 7, that is it is saying that though India, it has adopted various policies and programs for the development of those tribal community, and for that purpose that common property resources, that is still intact. Okay, and another area or another aspect because of which that common property resource that is still there, that is the culture, common property and the culture. As we have discussed that the tribal community, they established or they generate their cultural life by depending on the those common property. Okay, like we said, the religion of the tribal communities, okay, they depend on the jungles, or they depend on the forest, okay, for the religion also. Okay, so it is not possible that all the individuals they will have their individual forest. Okay, or it is totally impossible. Okay, so for the purpose of the cultural life, they also have to maintain that common property. Okay, and another aspect we said that for any kind of cultural traditional ceremonies or any kind of festivals. Okay, for example, you must have noticed the festival like Sarhul or the Bahamunga, or you must have heard the Mage Parab. Okay, so all these festivals or the that is Sohrai, or that is called the Diwalis in the tribal communities. For all these kind of festivals, they have to depend on that forest, or they have to depend on that local natural resources. Okay, so for that purpose, they have to depend on the common property resource. Uh, okay, so these are the some mm, aspect, or these are some points for which that common property resources or common property concept that is there. Okay, so going to the unit 18, that is caste and tribal communities. Here we have to understand that how caste and tribal community they interact. Okay, and how they impact each other, influence each other. Okay, and another aspect here it has been discussed that how language plays a major role for the identity of the tribal community. Okay, so the first two concept here it has been given that Sanskritization and the Hinduization. Okay, how a particular tribal community they are being transferred, or they are being changed to another community of a caste. Okay, so as we all know that Sanskritization, that is a process through which a lower caste community they get a chance, or they get an opportunity where they can uplift their social status, or they can imitate the upper caste lifestyle. Okay, so here also in the case of tribal community, as we have seen that the process of change that is equally affecting every region of the particular society. Okay, and these tribal community are not exception. Okay, so they are also getting affected by the process of social change, or the process of any kind of ideological change. Okay, so whenever these tribal community they are getting closer to the caste structure, somehow they are imitating the upper caste people. Okay, or they are imitating the caste people. Okay, for example, we have seen that there are we have seen that in the Jasmani system, we have also mentioned that how in a caste livelihood structure, these tribal community they have also the place, they depend on the these tribal communities also. Okay, so there is a close connection, or you can say that from the edges caste and tribal community they are in connection. or they interact with each other for various kind of need. Okay, as we said, as we have mentioned that for the agriculture they also depend on the tribal communities, like using the uh, tools and using the different kind of aids for agriculture. For example, bamboo basket, rope, okay, or for any kind of that forest product, okay, for the daily use, they depend on the tribal communities. Okay, that is, they have to depend on the tribal community. It means there is a actual connection between or interaction between the tribal community and the caste. Okay, and the factors like the modern education, or the factors like the pushing factors like impoverishment of poverty, okay, or the pulling factors like the uh, high social status, or you can say the high life chances, okay, caste community, that is attracting, or that is the reason, those are the reason for which these tribal community they are imitating the caste people or the upper caste people. But the question lies that these tribal community, if they are imitating, or they are getting changed to a caste community members, then are they really getting that caste status? It means, are they really included in that traditional stratification system of caste? Do they equally get that much of power, prestige, and privileges as other caste member they are getting? Okay, is it possible? Okay, so the answer is simple. The same status, or the equal status, power, prestige, and privileges what a actual caste member that is getting, the transform tribal community or the tribe to a caste member, maybe same amount that individual will not get. Okay, they will be termed as the uh, converted, or you can say the their origin of that particular caste, it will be always questioned. Okay, so those kind of issues are still with there. And in the case of Hinduization, like the factors, it may lies with those kind of factors, right? Maybe pulling factor and pushing factors are there. Okay, because of that Hinduization that is happening. Okay, so both Sanskritization and Hinduization sometimes that are used interchangeably. And uh, and the concept of Hinduization, as we have said, that they are they are somehow transferred to the caste members of any caste, of any of the caste. But again, the status they are getting, that is the lower caste status. Okay, they will not be included, or they will not get the place in other upper strata of the caste stratification system. For example, from that Barno theory, they may not get the second place, or the that third place. Okay, as we have the hierarchical order, we have mentioned that Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, they may not get that status, but they may get the lower status. As uh, we have the famous saying of Gurus, that they are the backward Hindus. Yeah, tribal communities, they are the backward Hindus. Okay, so these kind of concept, it is there. Okay, so that Hinduization concept, that process is happening, and there are many factors are there. But question lies that do they get that equal status of a caste community members? Okay, and next point is that when we use, that is the language and the identity, tribal identity. Okay, in the process of Hinduization and in the process of Sanskritization, you must have noticed that they are imitating the life cycle or lifestyle of the mm, upper caste people. Okay, it means they are imitating the caste member lifestyle. Okay, so definitely they will try to adopt the language of those community members, those caste community members. Okay, and as we have mentioned that there are very vernacular languages are there, and these tribal community they have their own dialects are there. Each tribal community have their own dialects, and if it is not continuously carried out, or it is not passed on throughout the generations. Okay, so they, those dialect, it will be at a engender status. Okay, they will go in, you can say, at any moment of time they will be at a risk, those language will be in a dangerous place. Okay, so the language they are using when they are getting changed, or they are getting, Mira, is there any question? you have, you have raised your hand. Mira, are you hearing?
No, ma'am.
No, okay, so you have raised your hand na, though, so I asked. Okay, so when we said that they are uh, they are changed to the caste people, it means they will adopt, or they will try to adopt the language of those tribal communities, and in that process that language it will be eliminated gradually, that will be eliminated if that is not uh, carry forward by the tribal community members. Okay, the, as we mentioned that it gives them a identity. If that language is that is dying out, then their identity is also dying out. Okay, so language, it tried to, you can say, the sustainability of that tribal community identity depends on the language. As much as that language is used, till that point their identity will be there. Okay, because we have seen that many of our culture, many of our lifestyle, okay, uh, that is being explained through our language. Okay, for example, if we are mentioning one of any of the festival, nuakhai, or Johnny Hosa, okay, any of our festival, that term, it has its explanation, it has its narratives or description. Okay, so the particular term that will explain your culture, that will explain your lifestyle, and that will explain your tradition, etc. Okay, uh, if that will not be continued, or that is not uh, mentioned in a daily basis, so definitely that culture, that idea of that particular festivals or the lifestyles of that particular community, that will be getting eliminated, or it will be getting blurred. Okay, and same it is, that is applicable to the tribal community. If they are not adopting, or they are not continuing with their traditional, or their dialect, then their identity will be at risk. Okay, uh, here you may have noticed that maybe in the island area, there are many types of individual tribal communities are there, but in those island area, many tribal dialect, it has been uh, already it has been deleted from their mind. Okay, they no longer speak in their traditional dialect, because the population that is also dying, and they are getting you can say they're changing their identity, like Hinduization or Sanskritization. That kind of instance also are there. And in those island area, the population that is playing a major role in the dying of the language. As the size of the population that is shrinking, the the speaker of that particular dialect that are also uh, getting eliminated, or that dialect is also getting shrink. Okay, so language plays a major role to create a identity of the tribal communities. Okay, and it is a unique factor for their identity. Okay, we must have heard that the Desia language, or you must have heard that the Hui language, Santari language, okay, or the Sadri language. Okay, so there are some hybridizations are also there, but that language it plays a major role for the creation of their identity. Okay, so going to the next unit, that is your unit 19. Okay, so what are the perspectives of Verrier Elvin and G.S. Gure on tribes? Okay, just a minute. Let's discuss. So, when we are analyzing Verir Elvin and G.S. Gure on the tribal issues, here some of the issue that has been raised, or some of the question that has been raised by these two thinkers, that is, first, like the Ghure, he formulated the question like, in India you can find there is no change in revivalism of tribal communities. Okay, and uh, the isolation and preservation, and the uh, finally the assimilation. Okay, so here, in this particular way, that can be those the situation of tribal community that can be seen. Okay, so the condition or the status of tribal community according to G.S. Gure, that is still there, still like that. It has not changed, that is same. Okay, and the perspective that is adopted by saying that by isolating them, or by through that isolation we can preserve the identity, we can preserve the culture, we can preserve the custom, tradition, etc., by isolating them. And then there will be a process of assimilation with the non-tribal communities, or you can, as we are discussing, the Hinduization, okay, or the Sanskritization. There will be they will be gradually assimilated with the non-tribal communities. Okay, and here he has given a particular instance of Rasgond. Okay, they have fought a battle, and they they have got that status of caste people. Okay, caste people, or you can say they have got that high status in the Hindu society. Okay, and you can they have been largely Hinduized. Okay, or they're very much closer to the Hindu community. And that that process that is led by the that particular community only. Okay, so here he wants to mention how that process of assimilation that is being initiated by the tribal community itself. Okay, and another factor that is overlooked by him is that is the impact of the Christianity, or impact of the Christian missionaries. Okay, as we have already mentioned that Christian missionary, they were present in the belt of tribal community from the very beginning, when they have advented in the India, or they have established the colonies in India. Okay, so from that time they were closely residing with the tribal communities. Okay, so they have an impact, as we are saying that because the non-tribal community and the tribal community, in some of the region they cohabit, so they have the impact. Okay, it means the dominant language or the dominant culture, they will take into the minority tribal communities language or the culture. Okay, so there will be a you can say hybridization or syncretic kind of culture you will find in those localities. Okay, uh, and same it is happening when the Christian missionaries, they are present in those tribal habitations. Okay, so they will have that same kind of impact. Okay, and because though they were in a minority population, but they have the authority, they were the ruler. Okay, so they have every power to influence forcefully the mass or the tribal communities. Okay, so in that way, you can say they have converted many tribal communities to the Christianity. Okay, they have influenced their food culture, they have influenced their uh, mm, race culture, language, etc and etc. Okay, so there is a major or the large influence on the tribal community by the Christian missionaries. Okay, and here how Elvin is his perspective is there for the tribal community. Okay, uh, his view is that, uh, quote, the second class has suffered moral depression decay as a result of contact from which the third has been largely free. Okay, here we will see that these tribal communities, okay, they have facing many kind of um, torture or many kind of depression because of that process of change. Okay, as we have seen the contact with the non-tribal communities. Okay, and Eileen was he's of view that Christian missionary uh, they have actually negatively affected or impacted the tribal communities. Okay, and he is in favor of the Hinduization, where they can have a great future, or they can their sustainable, their identity, it will be in a sustainable stage. Okay, he is of that view. Okay, and in 1944 he wrote that missionaries should be withdrawn from the partial excluded area. We insist that all education in these areas should be taken over by the government. We demand that the government should do twice as much as the missionaries have achieved. Okay, here we have no interest in keeping these people backward. If they are to take their place as Kshatriyas in the Hindu social system, then they must be trained in the art of liberal thinking and educated to courage and tradition of honor. Okay, so here how Elvin he is against of that missionary idea or ideology, and what should be the Indian state step. He has mentioned that. Okay, and Ghure also had said that to enable the so-called aborigines, or that is in terms of Ghure, aborigines, to live their life, to live their lives according to their traditions and customs without active interference from non-aboriginals is certainly a desirable end, as natural as grant of responsibility in their administration to other people. But to exclude these tracts from the operation of the full institution for this purpose implies that the facilities for such a life are likely to be denied by the general community if the so-called aboriginals are placed under the same administrative and political machinery. Okay, and this is not born out by history. Okay, so here it is clear that both Elvin and Gure argued for the assimilation of tribal community into the Hindu community or Hindu food. Okay, so that is their perspectives. They and they have also mentioned in which way these kind of this process of assimilation it could be done, and what could be the future of this tribal community if they are assimilated with the non-tribal communities, or they are assimilated with the Hindu community. Okay, here you can it has been mentioned that there are phases from here tribal community, they have raised their voice against the torture or against the deprivation. Okay, and they have tried to get the equal status in the non-tribal society as the caste people they are getting. Okay, in some of the instance they have been assimilated with the non-tribal community or caste people, and in some of the instance they were the part of the non-tribal social structure. Okay, and they are also getting that equal status. Okay, like the Gure mentioned that Rasgon case, how they have got that equal status, and they are getting the highest status in the tribal communities. Okay, so there are many instances are there where tribal community they have fought or they have raised their voices to get that kind of status. Okay, and in freedom struggles we have also seen that mm, they are not left behind, or they are not uh, they have not set back. Okay, when the case of freedom that has came. Okay, we have seen that Santal insurrection. Okay, and there are many other tribal movements that uh, had been emerged or that has been continued at the time of freedom struggle, and they have largely contributed to the national freedom struggle. Okay, in their way they have tried to contribute it, and the national parties like political parties like Congress, they have also tried to uh, also tried to include them, and they have also tried to give a view of this tribal community in the freedom struggle. Okay, they have also uh, voiced those tribal communities. Okay, for example, as we have seen that the case of Naxalbari. Okay, how, what were the, who were the community they have suffered and who have voices them voiced them. Okay, so there are many instances are there where tribal community they have joined their hands with the non-tribal community for freedoms. Okay, and in the independent India we have also crafts our you can say the social structure or the state mechanism like that, where they can get their own voice, or they can place their own voice. Okay, like we have scheduled area, we have uh, PESA, we have a special development programs for the tribal community that is there, and all of them in the top we have the constitution. Okay, so, and the affirmative actions in constitutions. Okay, so those actions or those initiatives in independent India, it has also gave the tribal community their voice. Okay, it has given that opportunities where they can raise their voice, and then in they can get the equal status as the other citizens of India they are getting. Okay, so here, going to the next unit, that is unit 20, social differentiation among the tribal communities. Okay, so here, what is social differentiation, and what is the definition, what are the types of social differentiation, and how social differentiation among the uh, tribal community that is found in the India. Okay, and what are the different bases of social stratification, social differentiations that is present in India. For example, we will discuss kinship and descent, sex, age, rank and hierarchy, occupation, education, religion, language, and uh, language with the other community, how they are different. Okay, so here, going to the social differentiation, Rizzer, he has defined social differentiation as a hierarchical system in which inherited and social acquired personal differences come to be the bias for accomplishing social tasks and filling the social positions in a peculiar is a peculiar precursor to the social inequality and the social stratification. Okay, so here we said that uh, the personal differences that will come in the way of doing your social tasks and fulfilling your social position. Okay, and what Steven says, broad social processes in which people are distinguished from one another according to age, sex, deviant, ethnic, and social stratification role. Okay, and Sorokin defines social differentiation in terms of two broad basic categories, namely in group differentiation and intergroup differentiation. Okay, here uh, in group differentiation, as we have said, that differences and differentiation within a particular group. Okay, for example, if we are talking of the tribal community, what are the different kind of differentiation among those tribal community? And intergroup differentiation, the differentiation between and among two or more communities. Okay, for example, among the true tribal communities or tribal communities and the non-tribal communities. Okay, so that kind of differentiation uh, you may find. Okay, so going to the differentiation or what a tribal community it is facing in India. Okay, as from the very beginning we mentioned that there are differentiation uh, among the tribal communities on the basis of uh, kinship and descent group. Okay, as we have already discussed what is kinship and what is descent. Okay, as in your previous classes we have already discussed, and how they are uh, differentiated, or they are acting in a particular tribal communities. Okay, we have seen that in non-tribal community we may have a different form of lineage and different form of descent, kinship and descent. Okay, for example, we have studied the matrilineal and patrilineal. Okay, and we have also uh, mm, studied a family can be matriarchal and a patriarchal family. Okay, and here in the tribal community you may find a distinct kind of lineage system which are found among them. Okay, like the phatrices comprise phatri. Okay, here you may find two or more clans in a particular descent system. Okay, and in India, phatri is a more commonly found among the tribes of northeast Himalayan region and also in the central region. The Ao Nagas, the Razgons, Konds, and the Murias are some of the tribals community. They have the fratry system. Okay, and there are many such instances are there which are different from the non-tribal community in the case of the lineage and descent system. Okay, and here is another example, that is Moiti. Okay, here the two unilineal descent group that are present in Moiti. Okay, the Mayon Nagas of Manipur, they have this kind of Moiti system. Okay, and it is also known as the dual organization. Okay, and sometimes they are exogamous and amgamous or endogamous. Okay, It is also found among the many tribal communities in India, like the Todas of Nilgiris Hills and Tamil Nadu areas, the Nagas, like we mentioned, that the Ao, Anal, or Mayon, or Monsang Nagas. Okay, and mainly it is found in the northeast regions. Okay, and going to the other parameters of social differentiation, that is sex. Okay, and as we have already discussed this in your previous class, that uh, gender and social class or social caste. Okay, there we have discussed that the gender that is socially constructed. Okay, and in Indian society, men are expected to perform certain kind of stereotypes work, and women are expected to perform certain other kind of work. Okay, so and men are generally referred to do the masculine work, and women are generally they generally instructed to do the feminine work. Okay, but that stereotype job roles you may not find in the tribal communities. Okay, as we have said that in a traditional Hindu society, caste society, the men will be the breadwinner, but in tribal community you may uh, identify women of doing that kind of responsibility. They generally go outside and they bring food to the home. Okay, so these kind of differentiation we will find. And in some of the tribal community, these women or the girl child, they are more preferred. Okay, and you must have heard the uh, market, like the markets of northeast area, where women, they generally own the market and they rule in that market. In that market only women are found, women sellers are found. Okay, so that kind of system, or that kind of, that is the stereotypical job definition, that is not found in the tribal community. The differentiation is there. Okay, and they may have the higher female sex ratio. Okay, because we have seen that they don't prefer, there is no sex differences, preferences there in the tribal community. So you may find a positive sex ratio in those tribal communities. Okay, so that kind of difference you will find in among the tribal communities. Okay, and other base of social difference is that is by age. Okay, here you will say that among the tribes, by and large, there is a process of the phases of life. Okay, a child has to undergo certain rituals to enter into the next stage. Okay, for example, to the adulthood stage. Okay, the ritual, those rituals are basically means for the formal recognition of the boys and girls by the community. Okay, for taking of the role and responsibility of the adulthood. And such rituals are, they are generally known as the rites of passage, or the rite de passes. Okay, we have finest cases of age group differentiation among the nagas. Okay, where you must have heard the concept of dormitory among the tribal communities. Okay, naga dormitory system. Okay, so after the few, after certain ages, they have to be a member of that dormitory system. They learn the uh, practices and they learn the skills of adulthood in that dormitory system. Okay, uh, there can be the dormitory of boys and the girls. Okay, and there can be uh, the common dormitory, it may be found. Okay, so there are many. cases are there where on the basis of age we will find uh, different kind of cultures and different kind of rituals among the tribal communities. Okay, and how social differences that is found in the tribal community by rank and hierarchy, we have we may not find the caste like hierarchization, but we may find the two different strata or two different hierarchy, that is the chief and the mass. Okay, some will be the chief and someone will be the and other will be the masses, or they will be the that is the commoners. Okay, so that kind of hierarchization will be there. Okay, and there are also in a particular tribal community you will also find some of the uh, clans, they are considered as the higher, and some of the clan groups they are considered as the lower groups. Okay, so among the tharus they are divided into two groups, higher and the lower group. Okay, and the higher section they have the subdivision also, that is called kuris. Okay, and those kuris are named as the mm, bhatta, birthya, Dahaiti, and Badvets and Mathum. Okay, and they themselves, some of the group, they the Manthum, they called themselves as the Rana Thakur, and they are the superior form of that Tharu community. Okay, so that kind of hierarchization we will also find. That kind of hierarchization it is also found in the Santal community. Okay, on the basis of the uh, surnames, they have their own traditional jobs, and according to that jobs they have been hierarchized. Okay, some community they are considered as the royals, and some community they are considered as the, you may say, as the untouchables in that particular communities. Okay, and on the basis of occupation there is also the differentiation is there. Okay, and on the basis of religion we have also seen the differentiation. Okay, and by language we have also seen the differentiation. Okay, some of the dialect speaker they considered themselves as the higher, some other dialect speaker they are considered as the lower community member. And another form of social differentiation is, that is, to whom you are connected with the non-tribal community. If you have the connection with the other non-tribal communities, for example you are closely connected with the uh, scheduled caste of the caste community, then you may have a lower strata, you are differentiated in that particular tribal communities. Okay, and some of the differentiation that is also made by the territory or physical contact with the environment. Okay, so students, I am taking 10 minutes break here, then again we will resume at sharp 8:50. We will resume.
Okay, class. Let's resume. Okay, so block 6 is that is the perspectives on religion. Okay, block 6, that is perspectives on religion. Block 7 is your dynamics of social process, and block 8 is your perspectives on social movements. Okay, so here in your first unit of block 6, that is unit 21, religion and politics. Uh, Here you have to first understand what is religion and what is politics, and they how they interact, okay, or how they influence each other. Okay. Like, what are the different aspects of studying the religion or approaches of studying the religion, and how this relationship between religion and politics, it has its own history. Okay, and what is the present state of this, the condition of religion and politics in contemporary India. Okay, as we already uh, knows that the concept of religion, or when we understand that what is religion, here you have to understand the religion, it mainly refers to the experiences of human beings as a collective in all parts of the world, and the relationship between human beings, and uh, probably in all works of its life, and to collect, and to all fact of every human life, for example education, politics, and economy. Okay, there are and here it has to understand the concept of religion, that is a form of belief. Okay, and that is, you can say that it is subjective. Okay, so as you understood what is religion, it may vary from your friend or from your colleague. Okay, so there are different approaches are there to study the religion. For example, the functional approach, how it understood the religion. Okay, so when we study the functional approach on religion, we generally see it as a it is a set of belief and practices, okay, that are related to sacred things, and that is to say that things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite into one single moral community called church, all those who adhere to them. Okay, so here this framework or this understanding that has been given by the Emil Durkheim. Okay, so when we consider what is religion, he has divided uh, the sacred part, that is religion. Okay, and how the sacred, that has been uh, defined by Durkheim, that is the unified set of belief and practices, okay, that are apart from the forbidden beliefs uh, and practices, and that practices that unite the single moral community, that is called as a church. Okay, and they are adhered to that community, that is called church. Okay, so there are many approaches are there. It means religion is the that is that kind of belief system which generally bring closure to being bring closure to the members of its society to a particular organizations or institutions. Okay, as we have seen that Hindu religion, Islam religion, Christian religion. Okay, so Christianity, Hinduism, or Islamism. So all these form of religion. Okay. So in the name of that belief system, you are united and you are adhering to that particular institution of religion. Okay. So the functional approach is that it is a you can say it is a unifying agent which will bring closure the individuals to the society. Okay, so mutton, red kill browns. Okay, and there are other theorists who have also studied religion in that particular perspectives of uh, function, okay, or functional perspectives. Okay, and he has given another perspectives on religion. Okay, here you will find that it can be the single individual's belief. Okay, the phenomenological approach, it has been given by the Max Weber. Okay, and there are also other approaches that has been given by or that has been discussed by the Levi Strauss, the structuralist approach. Okay, and uh, those approaches, they visualize religion in a different perspectives. Okay, as we functionalist approaches, as we said that because of that approach, a society is it is united. Okay, and the phenomenological approach, you are saying that uh, individual may have their own perspectives on the approaches. Okay, and here in the structuralist approach, you may you may see that the religion that may give you a perspectives how structurally that religion can be analyzed. Okay, so there may be different perspectives are there to analyze the religion. Okay, and how religion and politics they are connected in India. It has its own history. Okay, as we have seen that there are many invaders. They have tried to establish the colonies in India, and they are of different. You can say they are of different religion. Okay, and that religious beliefs, it has affected it or it has influenced the caste community or the politics in many ways. Okay, and last ruler, as we mentioned, that the Britishers, they have played that game, uh, divide and rule on the basis of religion. Okay, so to rule the India, you have to differentiate different community based on the religion. Okay, so from the very beginning, if we study the Indian politics, then religion, it has made its major impact or major stain in the uh, history of politics. Okay, and in a contemporary India, you may see a mm, new instances where religion and politics they are differently playing or differently affecting. For example, uh, as we have said that uh, the constitution, it has made India as a secular state. Okay, here, but we are finding the instances of communalism. Okay, so here those kind of instances they are found, and they have its those instances have the great impact on the Indian political systems. Okay, the You have already analyzed the Hindu Muslim communal conflict, okay, and how still they are they that conflict still it is present. Yeah. Like the previous year we have ended that particular conflict or the issues on Babri Masjid. Okay. So how long its history was, okay, and how Indian political systems or Indian political party they have responded to that particular issue. Okay, so there are many such instances or many such communal riots are there which has played a major role in the Indian political systems. Okay, and the divide and rule policy, that is also uh, it was a starting of the you can say the starting of religion to be implemented in the political arena. Okay, so the divide and rule, that is majorly that is based on the uh, division on the basis of the religion. Okay, so after the independence, we declare India as a secular state where every religion that they will be accommodated and they will have its own uh, they can freely practice their own religion. Okay, and in fundamentalism, how it is how it is understood here, somehow it is understood as the they are more equal to the orthodoxy or revivalism or cultural nationalism, traditionalism, or communalism. Okay, and somehow traditionalism and communalism they are mixed or they are mixed with the fundamentalism. Okay, so when we say what is traditionalism, what is fundamentalism, okay, so there are some you can see some basic differences are there. Okay, the element of activism that is common to the communalism and fundamentalism, whereas the communalists have a particular others. For the fundamentalist, it is rather a case of us versus the rest. Because of the rest is a general other. Okay, so moreover, fundamentalism reaches deep into the philosophical and religious roots to define its community beliefs, community of believers. Okay, so somehow it's look like it is self-producing kind of thing. Okay, so as we have said that secularism we will accommodate all the religion, but here in fundamentalism we will give importance to the to your own religion. Okay, okay, in our next unit here in unit 22, how religion and culture they are interacting or they are influencing. Okay, already we have understood what is religion and culture. We are definitely acquainted with what is the concept of culture and what are the different nature of culture and how they are what are the different facets of culture. Okay, so we will not go deep into that two factors, what is religion and what is culture. Okay, so going to the other part of this unit, so both culture and religion, they are interrelated. As we have said that a particular religion, it will save its culture, or a particular culture, it will save its religion. Okay, like the bond between religion and culture, as we have said that Christianity and its culture. Okay, so that religious belief that will explain the cultural life. Hinduism and Hindu culture. Okay, so the religious texts and the traditional texts that will explain the culture of the Hindu community. Okay, so there is a close relationship, or there is a uh, you can say inseparable relationship between culture and religion. They have to explain each other. Okay, and there are three approaches how this the concept of religion and the concept of secular and sacred that has been understood. Okay, the first explanation, that is by the Karl Marx and Emil Durkheim and Max Weber. Okay, same condition. Okay, so we were discussing the different approaches that has been mentioned by the Karl Marx, Max Weber, and uh, Max Weber, Karl Marx, and Durkheim. Okay, so when we're discussing Marx's opinion on religion, the famous quotes, that is with masses, that is the opium of the masses. Okay, so here it can be understood that uh, here it can be understood that the religion, it is a uncalled for and it is manipulative institution, forming an integral part of the exploitative superstructures. Okay, so here you can understood that the upper structure people, they can use religion as the means of your suppression, or as the means of your oppression. Okay, so through that means they can be they can be suppressed. Okay, so the use religion and religion to rule the masses. Okay, that is his understanding. And as we have already discussed the Durkheim perspectives on religion, how he has differentiated between the sacred and profane, and how that division between that different kind of belief system that is bringing together the members of society. Okay, and according to the Max Weber, you have seen that you have understood that uh, the religion it generally that can be the belief of a particular individual. And you have seen his work like protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism. Okay, how the belief on a particular religion, it is actually guiding you in your economic sphere. Okay, so that belief is actually that is resulted in other ways. Okay, so that may be of your personal belief, as we are discussing the phenomenological approach. Okay, so that is off to the individual how it understood. Okay, there are also cultural understanding to the religion that is there. And in the case of India, in the context of India, uh, the distinction between culture and religion, it cannot be constructed in that sharp manner as it is seen in a Western society. Okay, in India, the member of this society simultaneously, that is religious and non-religious. Okay, and it is often said that Hinduism is more than a religion, it is a way of life based on the justice and harmony. Okay, culture in India, it constantly strives to maintain social solidarity and harmony between its members. Okay, so Indian religious ethos and ethos also constantly aim at this goal, as the famous saying in Sanskrit reads, "For those who are noble in character, the entire world is a hope." Okay, like we have Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam kind of idea that is actually saying. Okay, so in India, we have a different experience with uh, religion. Okay, and we here you can see that uh, religion and culture in India works towards the same goal of four cardinal principles of the humankind, and these principles are the survival of the species, security in the lifespan of the individual, and material prosperity for ensuring survival and security. And it continues expansion of the scope of wholesome living and mental progress of the unfolding of the potential of every individuals. Okay, so in India, uh, these kind of goals that is fulfilled by the through the religion and culture. Okay, so going to the next unit, that is the unit 23, cohesive and divisive dimension of the religion. Okay, here we will get to know about the rivalry and integration. Okay, and how religion in India that is considered, uh, that is reflected or portrayed as a unity in diversity. Okay, and some social ramification of diversiveness in Indian religion, and multiple interpretation of the Indian religions. Okay, so as we have already discussed, that is the fundamentalism and secularism, the differences are there in the case of fundamentalism. Okay, and you must have heard the concept of that is called ethnocentrism. Okay, that is also related with the concept of religion. Okay, so there will be, if we are considering the Indian religion, we and rest, that concept is there. And we, or my religion, as it is spell out um, in the ethnocentrism, me, my, or our religion, that is best, and rest of others are not par with our religion. Okay, so that idea, that is generating the idea of rivalry. Okay, so the two religion, they will have uh, rivalry. Okay, so based on that belief systems, okay, individual belief system, that religion rivalry that is going on, because no religious script or no religious writing, they are actually proposing for the rivalry with any other kind of religion. Okay, it is the individuals perspectives or individual belief system, how they understood or how they value their own religion. Okay, and going to the next phase, that is how religion that is bringing integration, as we have already discussed the approaches of religion, the functionalist approaches, that is the only medium through which a particular society that is uh, bringing uh, all its member to a closure area. Okay, like we said, that it provides you the structures of the society, it provides you different positions of the society, and it also provides you how the different positions of that particular society, that should actually work. Like we have already discussed, for example, in Hindu society, uh, uh, the traditional text like manusmriti, okay, and the arthashastra of Kautilya, we have already discussed what should be the economic structure of the society and how the different position in that economic structure they will act. Okay, that has also been explained. And in the manusmriti you have also seen that how different gender they should act in a particular society, and they should respond in the different situations. Okay, so that has already been mentioned in that particular uh, traditional text. Okay, so somehow that religion, it brings or it integrates the whole society. Okay, because of that religion, they generally obey. Okay, for example, we have already discussed the concept of caste system, the theories of caste, the origin of the caste system, different theories are there. And one of the theory is that the divine theory, like how that Borno theory or Borno system that has been originated. Okay, so you have the explanation. The traditional script, they are explaining how those four Varna they have been originated by the from the body of Purusa. Okay, so those belief system or those texts, they are actually uh, portraying the structure of a society. So directly and indirectly, they are integrating the particular society. Okay, so religious has that kind of power also. Okay, it bring together the members of its society to a closure section. Okay, and in religion you have also seen the concept like uh, sect is there. Okay, within a single religion you may find different sect or the cult. Okay, different groups will be there, or the cult will be there. Okay, so in the in Indian case, you have seen that how that is the religion that has played actually a uniting agent.
in particular society. Okay, so as you have already mentioned that in India there are many types of religions they are present. Okay, we have already mentioned Hindu religion is there, Christian religion is there, Islamic religion is there, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, Jainism, okay, and other religion like the animism or the naturism, okay, Sarna religion. There are many other kind of religion. Major religions are there, and also minor religions are there. Okay, so heterogeneity is there, diversity is there when in the sphere of religion. But again, when we are coming to the unity in diversity, you will see after independence, India that is declared as the secular state. Okay, so no doubt, although there are rivalry, there different sections or sect or cults are there in a single religion or the different religions, but the harmony and the cohabitation of different religion that is present in India. Okay, uh,
Ma'am,
so we are discussing the unity and diversity in the case of religion, how different types of religion that are present in India, and how, in spite of the diversity, how unity is maintained because of constitution you may call, or because of the beliefs of different religious ideology.
Okay, so they are also accommodating the different other religion as well as the different sect and cult of its own religion. Okay, so in that way, the unity that is maintained in a particular society or in India. Okay, and going to the social ramification of divisiveness and the in Indian religion, here you will get the instances like how those sect and cult, they have been actually created to ramify the original religious belief systems. Okay, and you have also instances like the different reformers, they have actually tried to uh, bring certain kind of ramification in the religious belief systems. Okay, so you may have noticed the recent religion like Jainism and Buddhism. Okay, some other religion, okay, how they are getting more popularities, and somehow you have also seen that those religious community, they have created, or in that particular religious community you will find certain other kind of sect and cult, okay, which have differently understood that particular religious beliefs and ideology. Okay, and they will differently um, preach that religious ideology. Okay, there are many such cases are there. Okay, in the case of Muslims, in the case of Marathas, in the case of Buddhism, the regional variations and the local variations will you will find. And the sect and the cult and the religious leaders, somehow they have tried to ramify the uh, original religious belief systems. Okay, and based on that you have seen new religious movement, they have got popularity. Okay, in some of the cases you may have seen the hybridization of the religion. Okay, and the coexistence of the both ideology in a particular area. Okay, where they may have accommodate the rival religious community. Okay, there are different kind of practices they have been actually inculcated in the ramification. Okay, changing the institutions symbol, changing the flags, or changing the you can say the practices, religious practices, okay, that are also included in the ramification of the religion. Okay, here it can be understood, as we are mentioning the sect and cult, there can be the multiple interpretation of the Indian religion. Okay, on the basis of the sacred text, as we are from the very beginning we are mentioning this, few elite class people they have the accessibility to the this religion. Okay, they were only allowed to access this kind of religious script. Okay, so there can be multiple types of interpretation of that those sacred text. Okay, uh, as there is a least chance of verification and you can say check. Okay, so because fewer they were allowed, so those fewer have the understanding, the masses cannot check that interpretation because they were not allowed. Okay, so those Ramayana, Mahabharata, Upanishads, Vedas, okay, so they were interpreted by the few people only. Okay, and they may have the multiple types of interpretations. Okay, and going to the next unit, that is unit 24, that is secularization. Okay, so here you will start from that point, why there is a need of secularism or why there is a need of secularization in India. as we have already discussed that uh, the ruler different ruler of India, they have actually used that religious belief to divide, and they got success to rule the India. Okay, so secularism that was defined as like that, it is in encyclopedia you will get the definition like that. It is a branch of utilitarian ethics designed for the physical, social, and moral improvement of mankind, which neither affirms nor deny the uh, theistic premises of the religion. Okay, so it is not related to the belief of that particular religion. Okay, and rather it will create that environment where every religion they can get space for the improvement. Okay, or where uh, the every belie- believer of different kind of religion, they will be developed, or they will get a chance of improvement. Okay, and in the case of India, as we have seen that because of that particular ideology, divide and rule, the state that is divided into two different country. Okay, so the first important step it has to be taken in independent India, that is the uh, here on the basis of religion there should not be any kind of differentiation, so it is described, it is defined, or it is declared as the secular state. Okay, so for that purpose there are many movements uh, prior to independence that has already started, and during the national movement, those are those movement, those religious movement, secular religious movement, they have actually got uh, the popularities. Okay, so in 19th and 20th century you will see there was a overwhelming rise in the Indian nationalism. Okay, and the uh, Congress led the nationalist movement included person with varying sets of opinions. It means from the different religious category. Okay, it was also therefore no not entirely free from the communalist element, but its main thrust was towards the nationalist, secularist, and democratic ideology. Okay, so the major political parties of at the time of nationalist movement, they were actually uh, aiming for the that particular kind of state of secularism. Okay, so prior to independence, during the national movement, that secularist ideology that has actually inculcated among the individuals or among the masses of the India. So after independence, that uh, opportunity or that idea, it was get uh, adopted easily. Okay, here we will see what is Dr. Radhakrishnan, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan's views on secularism. What is he had viewed? Okay, here what is said that we hold that no one religion should be given preferential status or unique distinction, that no one religion should be accorded special privileges in national life or international relation, for that would be a violation of the basic principle of democracy and contrary to the best interest of the religion and government. No group of citizens shall be arrogate to itself rights and privileges which it denies to others. No person shall suffer any form of disability or discrimination because of his religion, but all alike should be free to share to the fullest degree in the commons life. Okay, so that is his view. So different thinkers or the leaders of nationalist movement or the state makers in post independence era, they have their own view regarding the secularism or regarding the secular state. Okay, so here Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, his opinion is different, and he has also gone in favor of the secularism. Okay, so there are many leaders, they have actually advocated for the secularism. Then constitution it adopted the uh, that idea. Okay, so that idea of secularism that is adopted in the constitution. Okay, so how Indian constitution it actually connotes secularism. Okay, the state by itself shall not espouse or establish or practice any religion. It means the state, a state should not have any kind of religion. Okay, so as we have seen that Pakistan, it can be stated as the Islamic State. It means they practice a particular type of religion. Okay, but here in India, it is the constitution. It is mentioning that the state by itself shall not espouse or establish or practice any religion. Okay, the public revenues will not be used to promote any kind of religion. Okay, so that has clearly mentioned in the constitution. So there should not be any kind of favorism towards particular kind of religion. Okay, the state shall have the power to regulate any economic, financial, or other secular activities associated with religious practices. Okay, so as we have seen, the trust, religious trust, that is that is managed or that is run as the state statute. Okay, how a religious trust it should function, that is being uh, adopted by the state statute. Okay, the state shall have the power through the law to provide for social welfare and reform or the throwing opinion of Hindi religious institutions of public character to all classes and section of Hindus. Okay, uh, that has also mentioned in the constitution. The practices of untouchability is constitutionally outlawed by the article 17. Okay, so here as we have said that there should be no differentiation on the basis of the religion and on the basis of the caste. Okay, so that untouchability that is also outlawed. Okay, every individual person will have in that order an equal right to freedom of conscience and religion. So the member of a particular society, they have their own will how they wants to practice the particular religion. The rights are however subject to the power of this state through law to impose restriction on the grounds of public order, morality and health. Okay, these rights are furthermore subject to the other fundamental rights in part 3, and the courts, auspiciously the Supreme Court, shall have the say on the adjudging state action as valid or otherwise under the above principles. Okay, so how a particular religion will function, that is already mentioned in our constitutions. Okay, uh, so here in conclusion, it can be said that the state would not attach itself to any one religion, which would thereby establish as a state religion, as the state religion. Okay, all citizens had the freedom of religion belief. The state would ensure equality among the religious groups by ensuring that one group was not favored at the expense of another. another. Okay, correspondingly, the minorities were reassured that they would not be discriminated against in any way. Okay, so in conclusion, that can be said. Okay. So we are ending here. You may leave the class.
Uh, Ma'am, is today will be the last class of yours?
Actually, it is scheduled as the last class, and two other units, blocks are there.
Yes, ma'am. Could you please take extra classes for us?
Extra classes. Hmm.
No, if possible only. It's not compulsory, but if you can.
Okay. For
Or else, ma'am, at least provide some short notes for those two units, which would be very easy.
two blocks. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's see. Okay, I will inform. Well, I will inform to your
Okay. Okay.
to the manager if it is possible. I can take the other one more class. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So they will
Okay.
inform you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.